Jai Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and welcome everyone to the Wednesday night, if you're in Eastern Canada here or the United States, 8 p.m. Caitanya-caritāmṛta class, reading and discussion with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, a senior disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who is just filled with transcendental pastimes of his time with Srila Prabhupada personally, and also his extensive understanding of Srila Prabhupada's teachings based on his intensive study on a daily basis of Srila Prabhupada's books. So we're very fortunate to have him with us in this group to lead our discussions 3 times a week on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And we're reading all of the different books of Srila Prabhupada, which are unedited versions of the books for everyone's transcendental benefit. And it's interesting to note, I'm reading ahead in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and I'm in Ancha-lila now. Here it is here. Volume 1. So marching through, this will be my 3rd reading in the last few years of the entire set, which I find very enlightening. And every time you read the books, you get a new level of understanding of what you've been reading, because for me, it's hard to retain. It's more of a study and a prayer that Krishna will bless me with some kind of vision of who I am in this Kali Yuga. So what had happened at the, this is a meeting, Srila Rupa Goswami's 2nd meeting with the Lord. I just wanted to, one point really stuck out for me, and I wanted to share it with you before we get going with the regular class, that Shivananda Sena took a dog with him and even paid fees for it to cross the river. So this is at the beginning of the chapter. And one night the dog could not get any food, and therefore went directly to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri. The next day, when Shivananda and his party reached Jagannath Puri, Shivananda saw the dog eating some coconut pulp offered to it by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after this incident, the dog was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. So this is the mercy of prasadam. And we are called the kitchen religion. This is based on Prabhupada's instructions to us to distribute prasadam to as many people as possible as part of our training program in Krishna Consciousness. And I wanted to just, when I first got initiated as Vishwakarma Das back in 1971, in July in Detroit, I had a very interesting experience in regards to prasadam. We all went down from Hamilton. There was a whole truckload car full of people that left from here and went there to greet Prabhupada when he came to Detroit. Back then, everybody used to work together as a big family. There was no, how can I say, competition amongst the devotees. It was strictly, we all felt one, like one troop of devotees working together cooperatively to serve Srila Prabhupada. So when we got to Detroit, everybody was working very intensely at the Jefferson Street Temple. You might have seen pictures of it on Facebook. And so I was there, and then I was the temple commander in Hamilton, from becoming a burgeoning rock star to cleaning the toilets. That was my new job. And so they gave me the duty of cleaning. Prabhupada was staying next to the Jefferson Street Temple in a Grihasta ashram, a Grihasta apartment. And so they had me clean the bathroom, and I did a really good job, I must say. I was very excited to get this opportunity to serve our spiritual master. And in exchange, I got to come to, because I was, back then, as you Prabhus know, it wasn't that you could just automatically, if you were a new bhakta, you could get in to Prabhupada's private quarters and have a darshan with him. And being Bhakta Bob, I was certainly most unqualified. But what happened was I was given that blessing for doing this small service for Prabhupada. And so we were in his room. I think it was about 15 of us, all God brothers, some initiated, some not. Bhagavan Das was from Detroit. He was the president back then. And he had been appointed president after serving in Buffalo under Rupanuga. So he was transferred over to Detroit. He was doing a wonderful job building out the preaching work there in Detroit. And so he was in the room, and a lot of other, there was a guy, I think Bhakta Das was there, and don't recall all the other people there. I was just sitting in the crowd there in the room. And then they brought in a big plate of prasadam, and Prabhupada was taking a little bit off the plate. And then we're all looking in awe and reverence at our guru. And then he said, here, he prompted everyone, please take some prasadam. And nobody moved, Dharma Bhavana. Not one person moved. We all just sat there like shocked. There was Prabhupada offering us some prasadam from his plate. Now this prasadam, if someone's fortunate enough to get the remnants, just like in the case of Shivananda Sena, excuse me, let me get that again. Shivananda Sena, yeah, Shivananda Sena's dog got the remnants from Lord Chaitanya himself. Wow. So is there a difference to get the remnants from the pure devotee? Especially Prabhupada's position as the great Acharya that he was, and manifested by his results became the greatest preacher of Krishna consciousness in the history of the modern world, no question. And we know that. So we all got up. Everybody got up. Then he said to us, he looked at us, he said, and never be shy when taking prasadam or doing business. That was the key thing. It's funny, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, that stuck with me for 55 years now. That one statement in the room. And it was a direction to all of us, you know, how to handle ourselves in life, because you need to be trained. You need to learn from, especially the spiritual master, how to behave, how to act. And Prabhupada gave us that direction. To never be shy when taking prasadam. And what mercy that in my first meeting with Srila Prabhupada, first time in Detroit, I got in his room somehow or other, and I got prasadam from the pure devotee. So this is a blessing. This is certainly a great blessing for all of us back then. And it's a lesson for all of us to distribute prasadam, because even though we may be fallen, we're still given this blessing from Srila Prabhupada, how to prepare food, offer it to our deity, and then distribute the prasadam to others. Because distributing prasadam is more important than eating prasadam for us. It's to share the mercy of Krishna consciousness with other people. Share the mission, just like we share the books. We share the knowledge to other people. A lot of times people don't appreciate it. They might not, because they have their particular point of view. And everyone's entitled to their opinion or their point of view. That's what free will means. But for all of us, we understand if we can give prasadam to other people, then this will be a blessing to us, as Krishna says in the Gita, that anyone who preaches this message to others, he's most dear to me. And Prabhupada explains that such a sincere person that's distributing Krishna consciousness will go back to him at the time of death, to Krishna. So we should spend our life in that way. We're going to go to we're at the diaries of Srila Prabhupada. We're at the Jaladuta diary section. And these are the prayers Markani Bhagavat Dharma, right there. So I read the first section. Thank you very much. And now we'll go to the last two. There's a series of prayers here. I wanted to read them that Prabhupada wrote on September 18th, 1965. And we'll do the translations for a brevity of time or shortage of time. Translation: he will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I'm seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Translation: somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like. He's personifying the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita in these verses. His temperament: O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message, so if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. And here he's demonstrating the principle of repeating exactly what your spiritual master says in order to keep it fixed in the chain of disciplic succession, not concoct or manufacture. Translation: O spiritual master of the worlds, only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened, and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Translation: O Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like. This is his full surrender, that he is a puppet, the transparent via media of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation: I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna, I have been designated as Bhaktivedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhaktivedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September, 1965. So very inspiring verses. I hope everyone enjoyed that. We'll move forward now with the introductory bhajan, Jaya Radha Madhava, with Srila Prabhupada chanting it with his devotees before class. This was our tradition. This is our tradition. And then we'll have the reading and discussion led by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskrityam. Narayanam namaskrityam. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Tato jayam mudirayat. Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As everyone knows, we are reading from the original non-edited, non-adulterated version, the 1974 version of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And as we do every week, we will first read a few verses which are contained in the Adi Lila, chapter 1 of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, explaining the mindset and the great benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. This is from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, chapter 1, text 18. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text number 19. Etina Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatma sat. Etinera charana vandan tire morenat. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grante Rarambikari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera smaraneyai vigna vinashana Anayase ay nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Simangala charanai trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, welcome everyone to this hearing, very auspicious reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 4. We will begin at text number 411. Number 111, sorry. Ebe karya nahi kichoye sava vichari, age havivari ba karya vistari. Ebe now, karya business, nahi there is not, kichu any, esaba all these, vichare in the considerations, age ahead, iha this, vibhariba I shall describe, kariya doing, vistare in expanded detail. Translation: to analyze these pastimes is not necessary now. Later I shall describe them in detail. Text 112. Purve vraji Krishner trividavayo dharma, komar poganda arkeshora atimarma. Purve previously, vraje in vraja, Krishnera of Lord Krishna, Trivida, three sorts, Vaya Dharma, characteristics of age, Komara, childhood, Poganda, boyhood, Ara, end, Keshora, adolescence, Atimarma, the very core. Translation: formerly in Vraja, Lord Krishna displayed three ages, namely childhood, boyhood, and adolescence. His adolescence is especially significant. Text 113. Vatsalya aveshe koila komara safal, poganda safal koila lana sakaval. Vatsalya of parental love, aveshe in the attachment, koila maid, komara childhood, safala fruitful, poganda boyhood, safala fruitful, koila maid, lana taking along, saka avala friends. Translation: parental affection made his childhood fruitful. His boyhood was successful with his friends. Text number 114. Radhika di lana koila rasa di bilas, vancha bharya swadila rasera niryas. Radhika adi, Srimati Radharani, and the other gopis. Lana, taking along. Koila, did. Rasa adi, beginning with the rasa dance. Vilasa, pastimes. Vancha bhari, fulfilling desires. Asvadila, he tasted. Rasera, of mellow. Niryasa, the essence. In youth, he tasted the essence of rasa, fulfilling his desires in pastimes like the rasa dance with Srimati Radhika and the other gopis. Text 115. Keshora vayase kama jagat sakal, rasa dililayatina karila safal. Keshora vayase, in the adolescent age, kama, amorous love, jagat sakala, the entire universe, rasa adi, such as the rasa dance, lilaya, by pastime, tina, 3, karila, made, safala, successful. Translation: in his youth, Lord Krishna made all 3 of his ages and the entire universe successful by his pastimes and amorous love, like the rasa dance. Text 116. Sopi Keshoraka Vayu Manayan Madhusudanaha Reme Striratna Kutashtaha Kshapasu Kshapita Hitaha Sahi Api, especially Keshoraka Vayaha, the age of adolescence, Manayan, honoring, Madhusudana, the killer of the Madhu demon, Reme, enjoyed, Striratna, of the gopis, Kuta, in multitudes, Staha, situated, Kshapasu, in the autumn nights, Kshapita Ahitaha, who destroys misfortune. Translation: Lord Madhusudana enjoyed his youth with pastimes on autumn nights in the midst of the jewel-like milkmaids. Thus, he dispelled all the misfortunes of the world. Purport: this is a verse from the Vishnu Purana 5:13-60. Text 117. Vacha suchita sarovari ratikala pragalbyaya radikam vrida kunchita lochanam virachayana gre sakinam masau tadvaksho ruha chitra kelimakari panditya param gataha keshoram safali karoti kalayam kunje viharam harihi. Vacha, by speech, Suchita, revealing, Sharavari, of the night, Rati, in amorous pastimes, Kala, of the portion, Pragalbyaya, the importance, Radhikam, Srimati Radharani, Vrida, from shame, Kunjita Lochanam, having her eyes closed, Virachayam, making, Agre, before, Sakinam, her friends, Asau, that one, Tat, of her, Vaksha Ruha, on the breast, Chitrakeli, with variegated pastimes, Makari, in drawing dolphins, Panditya, of cleverness, Param, the limit, Gataha, who reach, Keshoram, adolescence, Sapali Karoti, make successful, Kalayam, performing, Kunje, in the bushes, Viharam, pastimes, Harihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna made Srimati Radharani close her eyes in shame before her friends by his words relating their amorous activities on the previous night. Then he showed the highest limit of cleverness in drawing pictures of dolphins in various playful sports on her breast. In this way, Lord Hari made his youth successful by performing pastimes in the bushes with Sri Radha and her friends. Purport: this is a verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2:1-31 of Srila Rupa Goswami. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta namine prasannaya prashantaya tasmai Shri Gurave namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataha Adadana Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatu Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we have Krishna Das Kaviraj relating some very esoteric truths about the exalted position of Lord Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we carefully analyze the activities of Lord Krishna, there are some very amazing, sometimes incomprehensible leelas or pastimes. For example, when Krishna was fighting with Shalva, when he attacked Dwarka, the demon had certain mystic powers by which he made it look like Krishna's father was being captured or killed. So then there was some statements by various acharyas that Krishna is never actually bewildered by anything in this world. It may seem to our vision, our conditioned vision, that Krishna is bewildered. But this is the nature of the personality of Godhead. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described this philosophy as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. It is really inconceivable. Now, I've seen the arguments of some philosophers in some sampradaya that if something is inconceivable, how can you describe it? Well, we can describe it according to our limited understanding. But these great acharyas like Krishna Das Kaviraj, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they can describe the real meaning of these activities, of these pastimes. Just like in the Bhagavatam, we see, for example, in the Mahabharata, it is described, Achintya kaluye bhava natam starkena yojayet, that things which are inconceivable to the mind of a living being, we should not try to use this tarka or logic and argument. That is why it is described, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam, that the truth of dharma or spiritual life or religion is guha, it is hidden. It is not so easy to understand. But the answer is given how to understand. Mahajeno yena gata sapantaha, by following in the footsteps of the Mahajans, then one can understand. For example, if when people discuss about God, if you start asking people of other religious faiths or religious creeds, what is the meaning of God? Where does God live? What does he do? What are his activities? What are his pastimes? You're likely to get a deer in a headlight look, or some quotation from some scripture which really doesn't quite answer. But when we look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, the description of the pastimes of the personality of Godhead Krishna is complete. Everything is given there, not just Krishna's activities, but how the world is created, what is the position of the living entities, How does one come out of this material world? How one remains in this material world if one is entangled in a mode of passion and ignorance. There are so many descriptions. For example, in the second and third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there are systematic descriptions of the creation of the material world, the various time frames, the cyclical time, Vedic time explanation, how all the living entities are gradually created, how the Sapta Rishis, the four Kumaras, the seven great sages and other great sages such as Narada Muni and others, how they are manifested, how the population, how the universal population came about with Manu and Shantarupa. There are so many detailed descriptions. And just for somebody to say, oh, this is all mythology, or this is all fiction, well, that is not an explanation. The Bhagavatam clearly describes it. Simply, we have to give it oral reception. Because some of these activities can be quite difficult to understand. For example, in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, when Krishna was a boy, a youth, or a baby, he used to steal butter. Now somebody may say, well, how can God steal butter? One point, his mother, Yasoda, chased him with a stick. His mother tried to bind him with rope. There is even reference in the Bhagavatam and the explanation of the Goswamis that Krishna used to feed the monkeys. Krishna used to break the butter pots. So these kind of descriptions may seem absolutely inconceivable, achintya, to the mind of somebody who has not heard from authorized sources. If one does not hear from authorized sources, what will happen is this mind will be disturbed. He will get misunderstanding, misconceptions. Just like we were quoting from the Mahabharata, that is a very important point. That in order to hear the message, one is to approach a bona fide acharya, authorized, self-realized, fully liberated acharya who is in direct contact with Krishna. There are many references in Srila Prabhupada's books, in his purports, in his lectures, describing what is the position of a bona fide, fully realized acharya, fully liberated acharya. That is the position of Srila Prabhupada. Interestingly, this morning, here in the mountains in Northern California, it gets a little cold, like a lot of places around the world. I mean, Hamilton, Ontario gets a little colder than here. But it's interesting that I could not sleep. 3:30, 3:40, I could not sleep. So I looked at my phone, and I had an exchange with a lady in Oakland, California, and she kept asking me the question, well, what about the color of Krishna's body? What is that? What is the color? Where is this described? So I tried to explain to her, describe in the Vedas, and not the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita, and other literatures, the color of a monsoon cloud. And then she was asking, well, why is the sky blue? And at this point, I stopped, and basically I told her, let me just reach Srila Prabhupada, reach Prabhupada. I didn't send him a text or a phone call. I went to his books. So I looked on the phone, looked it up, and there's a very interesting statement by Srila Prabhupada that Krishna's color is blue because the Brahma Jyoti is blue because it emanates from Krishna's bodily effulgence. So the sky is blue because it emanates from the Brahma Jyoti and it emanates from Krishna. There are references like that to various other shastras, like in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is described as the color of monsoon cloud. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in one of his lectures, he was asked the same question, is Krishna's bodily color is the color of the asita flower, A-S-I-T-A, which is a flower that looks the color, this dark bluish, darkish cloud. Then this lady asked, well, what about the deities? The deities are dark black in Vrindavan, to Krishna. I said, well, many of these deities were made by the grandson of Krishna, Vrajanabha, in Vrindavan. The deity of Rupa Goswami was actually originally commissioned by Krishna's grandson, and over a few thousand years, it got covered. And Rupa Goswami discovered that deity. Same thing for the other deities, Radha Gopinath, Radha Madan Mohan. So the explanation of all these transcendental pastimes is given in the Shastras. But one has to proceed gradually, systematically, to hear from the Acharya. Then one can understand all of these pastimes, all these activities. So when somebody is asking, what does Krishna do? What does God do? We don't hesitate. We don't speculate. We don't invent. We don't manufacture. We simply refer to Srila Prabhupada's statements. We had an interesting experience in Bombay in December of 1972. What happened is there was an Indian gentleman who was a Christian who came to challenge Srila Prabhupada. And for those of you who have seen Prabhupada sometimes would sit in his room and lean back on his pillow with his hand in his bead bag, and he would just very carefully listen to the statements of the guests and people in the room. And sometimes he would just keep chanting on his beads, so just let them speak very nicely. He did the same thing with this gentleman. Then Prabhupada asked him the question, so according to you, what is the meaning of God? What does he do? Where does he live? What are his activities? And the person said, well, God is the Father. Prabhupada says, yes, we have that in Bhagavad Gita. Aham bija pradapita. I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. But beyond that, they have a conception of God with a big beard sitting on the, giving punishment to the living entities. It's very limited. Why? Because of the persons, the mentality of the persons that this particular Bible was spoken to. I mean, when you consider they ended up killing him, torturing him and killing him, what is the level of spiritual advancement or spiritual comprehension of these people? Therefore, that literature has certain limitations. We see even in that book itself, Jesus Christ said, I have many things to say, but in the future, someone will come and reveal them to you. Well, our conclusion is that person is Srila Prabhupada. That person who is given the full explanation of what is God, what are his activities, what is the essence of spiritual life, everything is concluded. Yesterday I was reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and there's the description in the chapter 17 of all the great sages and personalities that came to attend the Srimad Bhagavatam, because the news spread very quickly all over the universe, not just on this planet, but all over the universe, that a great personality, Maharaj Parikshit, was going to fast until death, and that a great person, Shukadeva Goswami, was coming to deliver the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. As we know from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the original Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken in 4 verses by Lord Krishna to Brahma, the chief engineer of the universe. It's called the Chatusloki Bhagavata, 4 essential verses. Prabhupada gives a very extensive, very detailed purports of these 4 verses in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the Bhagavatam was also delivered, explained by Lord Krishna to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva delivered the message of Srimad Bhagavatam to his son, Shukadev Goswami. So when Shukadev Goswami, who had been in the womb of his mother for 16 years, because he didn't want to come out, according to the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, he was completely satisfied, completely entranced, absorbed in the absolute truth. He didn't want to come out in this world. But he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. So after 16 years, he came out, and he came down from the Himalayas, and he came to the place where Maharaj Parikshit was sitting. Now, what's interesting is that in the descriptions in Srila Prabhupada's purport, there's description of all these great personalities that came there. It's quite an assembly. It is very, very enlivening to hear the names of these personalities and what they were doing, because some of them are very busy in other planets with their austerities, with their activities, with their transcendental activities. And this is like an all-star cast, just like in some sports. Every year they'll have some all-star game that the best players in each division will play. It's a show-bottled game, but it's just to keep people interested. So this is an all-star cast of great personalities that came. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 1, Chapter 17. From different parts of the universe, there arrived great sages like Atri, Shayavana, Sharadvan, Arishtanemi, Brigu, Vashishta, Parashara, Vishwamitra, Angira, Parashurama, Utatya, Indrapramada, Idvamavahu, Medhatiti, Devala, Arshtisena, Bharadvaja, Gautama, Pippalada, Maitreya, Aurava, Kavasa, Kumbhayoni, Dvaipayana, and the great personality Narada. It's quite significant. In the purport, Prabhupada says regarding Angira, he's one of the 6 mental sons of Brahma and the father of Brihaspati, the great learned priest of the demigods in the heavenly planets. He was born of the semen of Brahmaji, given to a cinder of fire. Uthatya and Samvarta are his sons. It is said that he is still performing austerity and chanting the holy name of the Lord at a place known as Alakananda on the bank of the Ganges. Now, why are we mentioning this? Because it's quite significant that these personalities are not dead and gone. Like, there is much interest in human society to discuss UFOs, unidentified flying objects, and whether there's life in other planets. Well, the Bhagavatam right there informs us there is life in other planets. We may not be able to perceive it because of this situation where we live, but there are great personalities in higher planets, even on this planet. That personality, Angira Rishi, Prabhupada said he's still living. He's still living. So one should not despair and thinking, oh, what are we going to do? Where's the knowledge? Why this happened? Why that? There's plenty of knowledge. It's simply that we have to develop submissive oral reception. Then one can get the proper understanding of what is a pure devotee, what is a liberated soul, what is a paramamsa, and why a pure devotee acts the way he acts. It's quite significant that in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, the Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Nabhujaya, there's a very important verse in Bengali where Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that not even the most intelligent person cannot understand the mind of a pure Vaishnava. Because sometimes some speculators will interpret some of Prabhupada's statements, or Prabhupada does not conform to the woke crowd, does not conform to the modern scientist explanation, does not conform to modern social conventions. Well, there's a lot of things that Prabhupada taught that does confirm to modern understanding. But where does he get that information from? He did not invent it. Prabhupada did not manufacture. He got it from the Bhagavatam. It's all there. Life in other planets is described in the Bhagavatam. The position of the demigods is explained in the Bhagavatam. How one can become free from life in this planet or go to other planets if he likes. Prabhupada wrote a whole book about it called Easy Journey to Other Planets. Simply, we have to learn to hear without speculation, without interpretations. Very important point. Very important point. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
To get this to work. Oh, Krishna.
We can
Thank
hear
you very much. I just had a problem getting my microphone turned on. I was listening intently to the class given by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and it certainly awakens a lot of points from our philosophy that Srila Prabhupada has given us. And this is part of his mercy, because to understand spiritual life at the level that he has delivered it to us, in other words, he's taken the philosophy, as you have mentioned, Yaśodā-nandana, he's taken the philosophy from the Vedic literatures and summarized them succinctly for our benefit because of our upbringing and our position in life. Because to understand Krishna is the most important thing, that he's the supreme person. And, being raised as a Roman Catholic myself, we were not given any insight into that aspect of spiritual realization. The Christian religion is mostly rules and regulations of morality. There's some understanding of spiritual advancement, but very little knowledge of who God is and what are his activities. So this is completely a mystery to these people, the Christians. They have no idea. So in the Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viti tattvataha. This is in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 9. Krishna is giving us some very important information in this verse. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo viti tattvataha chaktva deham punarjanma naitimam iti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So the critical statement by Krishna is, you have to understand that Krishna is a transcendental being. He's not subjected to the rules of the material world, which is birth, death, disease, and old age. In fact, he never grows, even though he lived for 125 years, in a sense, here on this planet. He never grew past the adolescent stage of life. He was always a young man. He always looked beautiful. You never see Krishna as an old man, do you? Do you ever see Krishna painted as an old man? No, he's eternally youthful. So this is the transcendental nature of his appearance. He's eternally youthful. And Krishna is a person. And that is not known in other religious groups or orders. Krishna is the all-attractive person. Actually, it is described in the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami, those intimate teachings of Krishna as the Supreme Person. He explains in detail the different relationships, as we read today in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, these different relationships that the living entity, the spirit soul, can have with the Supreme Lord. Even in Christianity, it is taught that we are made in his image and likeness. That means that whatever is existing here in this world in terms of relationship actually exists because it is in the spiritual world. So this is called a perverted reflection. Everything that goes on here in this world is a perverted reflection of what goes on without any inebrieties in the spiritual world. The material world is the perverted reflections of the pastimes being conducted in Krishna Loka, the spiritual world. So those people who want to imitate Krishna in the material world are sadly confused of what is the reality of things. Let's read a significant sector of philosophy from the Nectar of Devotion to give us insight how to understand these pastimes as explained in the Vedic literature. Prabhupada has recommended to read these books, his books, only so that we won't become, and not the books of others, so we won't become confused in these matters, because confusion is rampant everywhere. We'll go to the Nectar of Devotion, page 126. That's in chapter 16, spontaneous devotion further described. If we can bring that up on the screen. We must always remember, however, that such eagerness to follow in the footsteps of the denizens of Braja, Vrindavan, is not possible unless one is freed from material contamination. In following the regulated principles of devotional service, there is a stage which is called anartha-vritti, which means the disappearance of all material contamination. Sometimes it is found that someone is imitating such devotional love, but actually he is not freed from anarthas or unwanted habits. It has been seen that so-called devotee proclaims himself a follower of Nanda, Yashoda, or the gopis, while at the same time his abominable attraction for mundane sex life is visible. Such a manifestation of divine love is mere imitation and has no value. When one is actually spontaneously attracted to the loving principles of the gopis, there will be no trace of any mundane contamination in his character. Therefore, here this is critical, in the beginning, everyone should strictly follow the regulated principles of devotional service according to the injunctions of the scriptures and the spiritual master. Only after that stage of liberation, only the stage of liberation from material contamination, can one actually aspire to follow in the footsteps of the devotees in Vrindavan. So one has to be careful not to try to jump ahead thinking that because Krishna was a great lover, then I can also imitate Krishna and have so many girlfriends and fantasies in the material world. This is not understanding the nature, the transcendental nature of Krishna and his pastimes. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please, if you could further elaborate.
Well,
on these
this
subjects.
is a very important point, because we see, especially those who've had the chance to go to India, that there is a class of so-called Vaishnavas, of so-called devotees called Sahajiyas. Prabhupada explains Sahajiya means they take everything very cheaply. They don't quite follow the process properly, the bona fide process given, the sadhana process given by the acharyas. But they're very fond of jumping to the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, to the activities of Krishna with the gopis. There was one conversation with Prabhupada was talking to an Indian gentleman, and they're talking about Bhagavad Gita, basically the fundamental verse in the 2nd chapter, Dehinosmin yata dehe. And Prabhupada is explaining how first you have to understand that you're not the body, that you're growing from youth to, eventually to old age, and then you will transfer to another body. And the person had difficulty understanding. Then all of a sudden, the Indian gentleman tried to change the conversation to Krishna and the gopis, and Prabhupada stopped and says, wait a minute, we're talking Bhagavad Gita here. First you talk how you're not the body. First understand this, and later on, when you are purified from this misconception, then you can try to understand Krishna and the gopis. Because we see that the Sahajiyas and cheap devotees try to introduce these confidential discussions of Krishna's activities with the gopis, and basically they totally misunderstand everything, and they present it as a sex religion. Because Prabhupada mentions in the Krishna book, when he discusses the Rasa Lila, that if you hear this message of Rasa Lila, you will become purified of the mode of passion and ignorance, purified of this sex desire. It is not meant for the neophyte. Of course, people may say, well, Prabhupada published the Krishna book, the pastime is described there, and Prabhupada explained, yes, the pastime has to be explained, but it has to be explained according to the instruction of the Acharya. Otherwise, people misunderstand and spread all kinds of misconceptions. This has even been seen in the devotional society, that certain persons who want to jump like monkeys to the Rasa Lila and the confident pastimes of Krishna, totally misunderstanding Prabhupada's instruction, not following the proper process, presenting themselves as big authorities on the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis, and making a complete farce of the whole thing. That is why there are so many instructions to hear from authorized sources. We see in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Gopal Bhatta Goswami and Sanatana Goswami have quoted that verse, Avaishnava Mukod Girnam Putan Hari Katamritam Shravanam Neva Kartavyam Sarpochistam Yata Payaha. That the transcendental activities of Krishna, like the Rasa Lila, the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis, with Nanda Maharaj, and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, this is very confidential. It's katamrita, it is very nectarian, very sweet. But Shravanam Nevakarata, do not hear from those who are non-Vaishnavas. Now the problem we have nowadays, there's a lot of so-called Vaishnavas or pseudo-Vaishnavas who basically are trying to bypass the process, trying to jump like monkeys, just like the Sahajiyas. And this is creating a disturbance in the society. In other words, there's a proper process to be followed to understand things in the proper and correct perspective. And unless this process is followed, there will be guaranteed misunderstanding. And what does Sanatana Goswami warns? Shravanam neva kartavyan. One should not hear from such person. Why? Sarpochistam yata payaha. Just like sarpa means a snake, the serpent. If a serpent touches the milk, that milk may look nutritious. It's liquid, it's white, but it will have a very different effect. One, it will become poison. And we've seen so many people's spiritual life spoiled by this artificial attempt of jumping to these highly elevated topics. One should follow Prabhupada many times. Whenever he was asked about Siddha Deha and one's personal relationship with Krishna and all these confidential topics, every time Prabhupada replied, first you become purified, first you become liberated, and it will be revealed to you. But some people want to shortcut the process. That is not a good idea. That is not the proper way. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, and I was listening to a lecture by Srila Prabhupada. He was very adamant to say that you should not try to see Krishna. His guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, gave him that advice. Do not try to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. So the process of devotional service, and this process involves loyalty to the spiritual master, just like we're reading in these wonderful prayers that Prabhupada designed. On September 18th, 1965, where he's carefully mentioning that he is simply trying to repeat what he heard from his spiritual master without any interpretation or concoction. Because these subject matters are very private between guru and disciple. It's just like when you read these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, it's hard to explain them to people who do not study the books, who do not practice the process, because you have to be qualified. Everything in life is about qualification, really. If you look at in sports, they pay people so much money to play football here in America, and even throughout the world. They have all these famous football in the soccer world. I mean, they pay them. There was a baseball player out in California. He got paid $700 million to sign a contract. Now, why did they pay him so much? Well, because he's the best baseball player in the world. How do you know? Because he's shown he's qualified. So how can one think that they can see Krishna without following in the footsteps of their spiritual master, and thus qualifying themselves by practicing Krishna consciousness the way he taught us by practical example, to help us become, hopefully, qualified by his mercy, that we can find out who Krishna is. And we have Dharma Bhavana with us from Texas, Dallas, Texas, and we wanted him to share some of his realizations on today's verses with us. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Krishna, thank you all. In the beginning, we were talking about the poetry from the Jaladuta.
Yes.
And Srila Prabhupada was describing how he felt like he might be a failure or success. And in the same way, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Srila Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, these great topmost personalities, they present themselves as being your fallen, or maybe they'll be successful or failure. But we're supposed to look at them as the topmost personalities and see how they're just presenting their humility in their poetry. And I'm sorry, that may have been spoken of before, but I thought I'd just mention that especially for the new devotees. We have some new devotees on. And for me, it took a while to kind of understand how these topmost personalities are speaking in that way.
Yes.
But they're just trying to show us what it's like to be really humble. And another thing happened, we got a text today from one of our new devotees, and there was some kind of a writing they were hearing from somebody else about the beauty of bhakti, the all-expansiveness of bhakti, and what is Guru Tattva. And they became a little bit questioning. They were not exactly confused, but maybe confused. And I didn't get a chance to explain yet, but Srila Prabhupada gave us a really, really simple, for those who were in this mission, in that we were supposed to carry on the same kind of process or program that he had before. where for 5, 6, 7 years he was increasingly taking himself out of the physical aspects of the initiation process. And by 77, he was completely 100% removed himself from the whole physical parts of the initiation process. And he was still giving transcendental knowledge, removing the sins from the devotees' hearts, the really transcendental parts of it. So I thought I'd just mention that because the devotees still keep having questions about this.
Yes, it's a gradual process, Prabhu. You're absolutely right. And the secret of it is the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Because within that practice, everything becomes manifest by the grace of Prabhupada and Krishna. This was the formula given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he appeared in the 15th century to teach us the potency of the Hare Krishna mantra. And he demonstrated all these symptoms of ecstasy while chanting. I was reading them in Madhya Lila, Volume 9, how he was falling into these trances and symptoms of ecstasy because of the nature of the power of the holy name. So we may not understand at this early stage how powerful the holy name is, but if all of the people that you're working with take up this process of chanting their rounds every day, a lot of times I ask the students in the Hamilton area, are you chanting your rounds? And you know what the answer is? No. I said, well, how do you expect to be able to understand this philosophy if you don't practice it? Part of the practice is discipline. 4 regulated principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And along with that, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And then you have to engage in some kind of service to give other people Krishna, whether it's in the form of book distribution or prasadam distribution. And this way, the process will begin to work. And somehow or other, by the Lord's mercy, Prabhupada blesses you with the understanding of what he's saying in his books. There's a magic to this, but it has to be followed. And there's one really good devotee who's the king of samosas in Australia, Mr. Shamasundar Prabhu. Are you there by chance, or are you cooking in the kitchen? Because if you could, we'd like to hear your, there you are. It's hot in the kitchen down there, but I wanted you to share some of your insights with us today on this class.
Oh, Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Beautiful class, great association. And it is not only hot, but we've just been through a cyclone as well. Cyclone and massive flooding.
Oh.
So this region, this far northern Queensland region, is getting some good antidiabetic activity, that's for sure. So, yeah, so I just had a little portion to share. I was reading, where are we now?
Try to get closer to the mic. Try to get closer to the mic here a little bit, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
So I was just
feedback. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is that a bit better now?
Go ahead, please.
I was just wanted to share some parts from the introduction to the Krishna book, just in relation to the discussion. It's just an interesting outlook about the qualification of people who can hear Krishna's pastimes. And I was just reading this the other day. I thought I would just share. I'll just read this. It's from the introduction to Krishna book. Prabhupada says, the pastimes of the Lord are generally heard and relished by liberated souls, and yet the descriptions of the pastimes of Lord Krishna are so attractive that they are relishable for all classes of men. There are 3 classes of men in the world: One class consists of liberated souls, another consists of those who are trying to be liberated, and the third consists of materialistic men. So whether one is liberated or is trying to be liberated or is even grossly materialistic, the pastimes of Lord Krishna are worth studying. This Krishna Katha will also be very much appealing to the most materialistic persons, because Krishna's pastimes with the gopis are exactly like the loving affairs between young girls and boys within this material world. Therefore, when those who are after sex life in this material world hear about Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, they will relish transcendental pleasure, although it appears to be materialistic. The advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual platform. Anyway, there's more in the introduction, but I just thought that would be enough just to put a little balance into the discussion regarding that even Prabhupada has written a Krishna book, and it seems that he's encouraging even grossly materialistic people to read these pastimes because it will actually purify their hearts. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that, so perhaps we could discuss that a little bit, the balance.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Excellent. And a very good point about imitating, trying to imitate Krishna. That's what everyone is doing in this world, mostly men. They want to be king of the world. They have a big plane. That's why women and money can be a big distraction. They are a complete distraction for a person that's on the path of spiritual enlightenment. And Venkat Bhatta, Prabhu, you're in South India, the wonderful home of the Lord. And I see we have some things that have come up on the screen in our chat. We have a few more minutes. Is there anything you'd like to read from our wonderful assembly of devotees that join us on a weekly basis here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society? Venkat Bhatta.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Haribol.
Rupesh Chavan Prabhu has posted some an excerpt of a conversation. So I haven't read it yet. If you want, I can read that out.
Please read it out for us. Let's hear it, everyone. A little bit more nectar from our assembled devotees.
Okay. Well, let me bring it up on the screen here. Then
okay,
I can read
you.
it out. Let me just get that. November 1st, 1975. Yeah. So devotees asking, Prabhupada, some of the people I've met, like in the later volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, some of the information is so much against what the living entities are experiencing and being educated in that I've noticed that some people have turned away from Krishna who already had some attraction when they hear these different topics, like the situation of the universe. Prabhupada, what is that? Brahmananda. That because in Srimad Bhagavatam, the knowledge there contradicts the mundane scientific knowledge. People who had some faith in Krishna become discouraged and turn away from Krishna. Prabhupada, let him go away. Don't care for him. Let all the fools go away. There is a Bengali proverb. Instead of maintaining some bad cows, let the cow shed be vacant. We shall prefer the cow shed vacant. No cow, than keeping all bad cows who does not give any milk, create disturbance. In our temple, Prabhupada, we are giving chance, but we don't want bad cows. We haven't got to agree with their views. They must agree with our views. Then they can live. Otherwise, let them go away. And
that's excellent. I love that.
Yeah,
it's a
there's more.
Very valuable point for us as a group to follow this. If people, Venkat Bhatta, may not like, that we're focused on reading the unadulterated books, that we're focused on Prabhupada's Vani incarnation as our understanding of how Prabhupada is living with us. And then we understand we are not of the same mentality, and just go find your own place to give your own class somewhere or join some other group and enjoy that. It's quite all right. We want everybody to have the same focus here, which is that Prabhupada is living with us in sound. Anything else, Venkat Bhatta? We're almost close to the end, so I just want you to see if you can pick up something else.
No, as of now, yeah, there's some more conversations, but
maybe we'll save them for Saturday. If there's any other points, we're going to end up the program. We're going to be doing some special features with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. We've been discussing it. He has all kinds of transcendental nectar he wants to share with the world, and on so many different interesting spiritual topics that he's extracting from Srila Prabhupada's books for our benefit, and wants to share it with everyone. So you can look forward to those. And we wanted to remind you that we will be back on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We're reading along at a nice pace at the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Beautiful Bhagavad Gita, so wonderful, which is the introduction into our philosophy. And then after that, there is the postgraduate study, or the graduate study, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, and where you move along step by step, reading all the 10 or 12, in our case, 10 cantos that Prabhupada translated. And we have the Krishna book. And then after that, you can move forward and study Caitanya-caritāmṛta. And this will further enhance your understanding of the transcendental relationship that we can enjoy tattvavit with the spiritual master, and his revelation of Krishna consciousness to his sincere, loyal, absolutely loyal disciples. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll move ahead. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, please play the kirtan for us and chant along, everyone, to the Hare Krishna mantra.
Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,